Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing really well. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make this really cute, easy and really quick project. It is this fluffy balaclava style hood slash bonnet, bit of a mixture of all three, and it is super soft and comfortable and keeps you nice and warm, and it's also just a bit of a nicer way to accessorize and obviously keep warm through the winter. I've used this really nice kind of mixture of cream yarn and then a white, pink and green mix. And because this is a nice chunky yarn, this works up really quick as well. I was able to whip this project up in less than 2 hours. So I hope you all enjoy this tutorial, and let me know if you have any ideas of what you'd like me to make in future videos, and let's get into it. Okay, so for this project I'm going to be using about 100 grams of this chunky blanket style yarn. This is like a velvety yarn with flecks of pink and like a pale green stripe. I believe that this is from the Himalaya brand and it is the Dolphin Baby yarn. I'm not sure of the name of this shade because I can't really find it online, but if you are looking for something similar, then King Cole has a yarn collection called Yummy, and you can get pretty much the same yarn in the colour Pink Rose that can match this one. So I've got about 100 grams of this, but depending on the size that you want to make, you might want a little bit more, a little bit less. And then I've got about 100 grams of this cream blanket chunky yarn. This is just from Aldi, but you can get pretty much any kind of blanket yarn. This is just a basic cream colour. And today I'm going to be using a 5.5mm hook, and you'll also need some scissors. So I'm going to be starting off with the main kind of bonnet part, and that is going to be basically a long chain that fits from just below the left side of your chin, that will go all the way over your head and go down to just below the right side of your chin. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm simply just going to chain about 60, and then you'll want to chain an extra chain for the turning chain. So for my size I'm going to be making it about 21 inches in length, so 60 chains is pretty good. So I've just got my chain, and I'm now going to add one more chain for the turning chain, so I've got 61 chains in total. And I'm going to start my first row, which is going to be a row of single crochets. So you'll notice that in each chain we have these kind of 2 loops that go down, so they're like little V's. And when you flip the chain over to the back, you'll notice that there is kind of this one horizontal line going across the back of the chain, and these little lines are going to be called the back bumps. So I'm going to be going into the back bumps for my first row. So we're going to be doing single crochets but into the back bumps. So you want to flip your chain over and find that second chain from the hook, flip the chain over, and you can kind of separate the V to find that center loop, which is the back bump. Just insert your hook into that loop and make your single crochet. So you want to yarn over and pull through that first loop like that, and then to finish the single crochet you want to yarn over again and now pull through both of the loops like that. So I'm going to repeat that all the way across into each back bump. So I'm going to find my next back bump, so it's right here, insert my hook, yarn over and pull through that first loop, and then yarn over again and pull through those 2 loops like that. So I'm going to repeat that now all the way across until I have 60 stitches in total in the row, and then I will come back and show you how to do row 2. Okay, so once you have got to the end of your row, you're just going to want to start your next row. So you want to chain 1 and then turn the work around. So we're now working on the back of the work, and now we're just going to be making single crochets into each stitch all the way across. So I'm going to find my next stitch, which is the V right at the top right here, so that first V, insert my hook into that V and yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So it's just like we did in the previous row, but now instead of the back bumps we are just going into these V stitches across the top of the row. And I'm going to be repeating the second row, which is just a single crochet into each stitch all the way across, until the work reaches from the front of the hairline to sort of the middle part of the back of the head. So for me that's about 8 inches, so the middle part of the back of the head but right at the top of the head, if that makes sense. So if you measure from the front of your hairline to the back point of the centre of your head at the top, then you want to single crochet as many rows as you'd like until it reaches that measurement. So like I said, for me that's about 8 inches. So all I'm going to do is just continue to single crochet into each stitch all the way across, and then when I get to the end of the row I would just do the exact same thing, chain 1, turn the work, and then make my single crochets all the way across again. And you'll notice that the work will build in height, and again you just want to continue doing those rows until the work reaches the measurement that you need. Okay, so I've just completed 21 rows to get 8 inches, and now I'm going to start the decrease section. So you want to find your middle stitch, so for me that is the 30th stitch, and I'm just going to place a stitch marker there. You don't have to use a stitch marker if you don't have one. You can just use like a hair slide or any kind of thing that you can slide through that middle stitch. So I'm just going to find the 30th stitch of the row. Just found my middle stitch. I'm just going to mark it with the stitch marker like that. So this is going to be kind of the midpoint of where we are going to be decreasing. So for the decrease part we are simply just going to chain 1 and turn the work to start our next row. And I'm basically just going to single crochet across until I get to the 2 stitches right before the stitch marker. So that's where I'm going to be stopping. So actually I'm going to be crocheting, doing 27 single crochets, and then once I get to the 28th and the 29th I'm going to decrease, and then I would just do a single crochet into that stitch marker stitch. So it's basically just a normal kind of stitch for that part. So I'm going to start off by just single crocheting across until I have my 2 stitches before the stitch marker. Okay, so I've just done my 27 single crochets and now into the 28th and 29th stitch. So those are the 2 stitches right before the stitch marker. I'm going to do a decrease. So I'm going to just insert my hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull through, and then into the next stitch do the exact same thing. Insert your hook and yarn over and pull through. And then I'm just going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And this is going to bring 2 stitches into one, so we're essentially minusing 1 stitch from the row. And then we're going to do our single crochet in the stitch marker stitch, so just 1 single crochet is normal. Then I'm going to place the stitch marker back in that stitch, and now I'm going to do another decrease stitch. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that I've just done, inserting my hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, inserting my hook into the following stitch, yarn over and pull through, then yarn over and pull through both loops, or all 3 loops, sorry. And then I'm just going to do my single crochets all the way across. Okay, so after your last stitch of that row, we're going to just start the next row, so chain 1 and turn the work. And then I would simply just make 1 single crochet all the way across until I have 2 stitches before the stitch marker. Then I'd make my decrease, then I'd single crochet into the stitch marker space and replace the stitch marker, and then I'd do another decrease stitch next to it into those next 2 stitches, and then I would just single crochet across. So you always want to be decreasing in the same spots and keeping that stitch marker right in the centre, and you'll notice that you'll get fewer and fewer stitches each row. And you just want to continue doing those decrease rows until you're happy with how the hood sits sort of over your head. So at this point it's kind of just working on creating more length for the hood. So I'll meet you back once I've done the amount of rows I want. And as you can see, once you've done your decreases, you'll notice that the centre of the work kind of starts to curl in. That's completely normal. So you don't want to fasten off yet because we're going to be joining the seam together. So that's going to be basically where the middle stitch marker is. We're going to be folding those two edges together. So because I'm left-handed, I'm just going to be kind of turning the work this way because I need my working yarn to be on the front of the work. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to push my hook through the first stitch on the front, and then I'm just going to pull the loop through that stitch so that I can now work on the front the correct way. You might not have to do that depending on where you're at, but just because of the side that I ended on for my final row meant that I would have to kind of move the working yarn to the front. So now I'm just going to be doing slip stitches all the way up. So I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch at the front and the same corresponding stitch on the back. So I'm just pushing 2 stitches onto the hook, and then I'm going to make a slip stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through those 2 stitches, and then I'm going to pull that first loop through the second. Again, into the next stitch, inserting your hook into the front, and into the back the same stitch, inserting your hook, yarn over and pull through, and then pull that first loop through the second. So I'm just going to continue that all the way up. So inserting my hook into the next stitch on the front and the next stitch on the back, and then yarn over and pull through, and then pull that first loop through the second, like that. So I'm just going to continue that all the way up until all of the seam at the back is sewn together, and then once you have completed the joining of the seams, then you just want to chain 1 and fasten off. Okay, so I've just chained 1 and fastened off, and now you want to flip the hood onto the right side. So you'll see that the back now has a nice neat seam, and then the inside is where we done those slip stitches. So now you just want to flip the hood upside down, and depending on if you are right-handed, you will be starting on this edge here. If you're left-handed like me, you'll be starting on this edge here. So we're going to be doing the ribbing, and you can make the ribbing as long as you want. If you're not really happy with how long your hood is currently, then you can do more chains for the ribbing to increase the length of the hood. So grab your cream yarn or whatever colour you're using for the ribbing and make a slip knot. And then you just want to insert your hook into that corner stitch or the corner loops of the bottom of the hood and pull your slip knot through, and you can make your chain as long as you want to. I'm probably going to be doing a chain of roughly 6 or 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Okay, and then we are going to be working again in the back bumps just like we did for the first row of the hood. So flip your chain over, and we're just going to do 1 single crochet into the second back bump from the hook, and then 1 single crochet into each back bump all the way across. So in total I'm going to have 6 single crochets in my row. Like so, and then I'm going to do 2 slip stitches where the hood is. So just find that kind of next available space on the hood and insert your hook, and then yarn over and pull through, and then pull your first loop through the second, like that. And then you just want to do that 1 more time. So into the next space, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, and then pull that first loop through the second, just like that. So that's the end of our first row for the ribbing, and then for the second row we're going to be doing a bit of a different stitch. So I'm going to just turn the work, so you don't need to chain 1, just turn the work for the next row. We're going to skip the first 2 stitches, so those were the slip stitches, and I'm going to be doing a yarn over slip stitch in the front loop for the second row. So I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to skip those first 2 slip stitches, and I'm going to pick up the front loop only, so that's that loop right there, of my first stitch, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through, and then I'm going to pull my first loop through these bottom 2 loops, like that. So it's sort of like the slip stitch, except we've got an extra loop on the hook, and I'm going to do that into each of the next 4 stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the next front loop, yarn over and pull through, and then pull that first loop through those bottom 2 loops. So now I'm just going to do that into the next 3 stitches, so just in the front loop. Okay, and then in that final stitch we're just going to do a single crochet, so just a normal single crochet like that. Okay, and then that is the end of row 2. So for row 3 I'm going to turn the work again, so now I'm working on the front of the work, and I'm going to start off in my first stitch with a single crochet. So your bottom edge of the ribbing is always going to be single crochets, and then into the next 5 stitches I'm going to be doing the yarn over slip stitch, but in the back loop this time. So I'm going to yarn over, and this time I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop of the next stitch, like that, yarn over and pull through, and then pull your first loop through those bottom 2 loops. So it's literally the exact same thing, except we're now working in the back loop. So when you're on the front of the work you want to work in the back loop, and when you're on the back of the work you want to work in the front loop. So I'm going to do that into my next 4 stitches into the back loop. Okay, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next 2 spaces on the hood. So I'm just going to insert my hook, make a slip stitch, and then one more time again, insert my hook to the next space, make a slip stitch, like that. And as you can see, the ribbing is starting to form. So now you're just going to want to repeat row 2 and row 3 all the way around the bottom edge of the hood. So just as a recap, for my next row, which is going to technically be the row 2, you want to skip the first 2 slip stitches and do 5 yarn over slip stitches in the front loop. And then in that final stitch just do a single crochet. Okay, and then the next row, which is going to be the row 3 pattern, I'm going to do a single crochet into the first stitch, and then I'm going to do 5 yarn over slip stitches in the back loop only. And then to finish the row 3 pattern you're going to just do 2 slip stitches into the hood, so 1 into the next 2 spaces, like that. Okay, and that is all you have to do for the ribbing, and you just want to continue that all the way around until the bottom edge of the hood is completely covered with the ribbing. So I will be finishing right here on the other side, and then when you have finished your ribbing you just want to chain 1 and fasten off, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so I've just finished the ribbing section and I've chained 1 and fastened off, and now I'm going to be doing the tie section. So I'm going to be inserting my hook into the corner of the ribbing, so that's right at the bottom edge. I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to pull the slip knot through that stitch, and then you just want to make a chain of however long you want to make the tie. So I'm going to probably make a chain of about 20 to 30 chains. Okay, and then however many chains you end up doing, you just want to add an extra one for the turning chain. And then I'm just going to single crochet into each back bump all the way across. So just like we did at the beginning, I'm going to flip the chain over and I'm going to insert my hook where that second back bump is and make my single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet into each back bump all the way across the row. Okay, so once you have done all of your single crochets in the back bump, you then just want to single crochet across the top of the ribbing. So just going through both loops and single crochet across the top of the ribbing. Okay, and then I'm going to single crochet up the edge of the hood. So I'm going all the way around the front kind of hairline section of the hood, just doing a single crochet into each stitch. Okay, and then once you have reached the other side of the ribbing, you then just want to single crochet across the ribbing. Okay, and then the last step is just to make your chain again, just as you did at the beginning. So I chained 30, so I'm going to do a chain of 30, plus 1 for the turning chain. And then I'm just going to single crochet into each back bump all the way down the chain again. So once you've done all of your single crochets in the back bumps, you then just want to kind of attach the long chain kind of thing that we've got here to the bottom edge of the hood. So right here, as you can see, this is kind of like my first proper stitch of the hood right there. So I'm just going to make a slip stitch right there to kind of join everything. So I'm inserting my hook, yarn over and pull through that stitch, and then pull that first loop through the second, like that. And then I'm just going to chain 1 and cut the yarn to fasten off. And then you can just pull that end and tighten it. And then all you have to do is just tuck with your hook, tuck the end onto the inside of the work to hide it. And then the hood is all complete. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you're always notified when I post a new tutorial, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys!